When it comes to communication, we have to pause and ask ourselves, what is my motivation? What am I trying to accomplish or get out of this round of communication? This is not something we often consciously ask ourselves, and yet there's always an underlying motivation to our conversation. Whether it be to accomplish a task, relay a specific piece of information, gain clarity, sell something, or to connect and feel valued, there's something that drives how we communicate in each of our conversations. Hello, my friends. Jeffrey Shao here from Grow to Your Potential. Over the next few weeks, our journey towards better communication will shift from false beliefs that hinder communication to the intentions that drive communication. When it comes to exploring the intentions behind communication, there are multiple aspects we can explore. Over the coming weeks, we'll unpack the intentions of others. However, I'd like to take today to explore our intentions first, as it's easy to understand others once we have a better understanding of ourselves. I started this session off with a question. What is my motivation? To help you understand this, allow me to share with you from my speaker training with the John Maxwell team. When crafting a message for a speaking engagement, we are taught to identify the point. This involves understanding the occasion and audience and getting clarity about the point of the message. If we don't have a clear understanding or a firm grasp of the central idea of our message, we end up rambling all over the place, and the audience left confused and struggling to find value from the session. To help with this, we're taught to pick one thing to focus on. As we craft our message and we work it and refine it, we keep going back to that core message to see how what we are saying lines up with and supports that core message. As we do this, we'll find things that need to be dropped. They may be great ideas or stories, but if they're not working to serve the main point of the message, out they go. Anything that doesn't add significant value to the main point only serves as a distraction and possible point of confusion for the audience. The same is true when we engage in conversations with others. Whether we're aware of it or not, there's a core motivator for a conversation, which will vary from conversation to conversation. If we're not aware of what the motivator is, when we can end up rambling on and lose our audience. Even worse, we can end up conveying a message that's actually counter to our motivation for the conversation. As this occurs, we can end up frustrating the other person as well as ourselves. My training in conflict management has helped me to spot when conversations are drifting off course and reconnect to the motivation behind the conversation. It's helped me to take that mental pause when conversations start going awry and explore my motivation. Once I know what my motivation is, I'm better able to steer that conversation in the right direction. Sometimes this will be tricky as there may be a couple of motivations for the conversation. Perhaps there's a couple of issues to be resolved. The key is, once I identify it, pick one to work on and just set the other aside for the time being. Otherwise, the two get muddled together and bring about further frustration and confusion. For example, think of a time where you were having a difficult conversation with a friend. Perhaps they did something that hurt you, and you'd like to address it. As you do, a larger issue surfaces, and you find yourself trying to tackle two issues at once. It is at these points you need to identify the two issues and decide which one to pursue first and which one to set off to the side to be addressed later. If this is not done, the conversation can end up focusing on a mixture of the two issues where neither of them are resolved by the end. Ideally, the best time to assess our motivation is prior to that conversation, prior to it even starting. The higher the stakes of the conversation, the greater the necessity of this step. The next best time to assess your motivation is during the conversation. When things start to go awry, take that mental pause and assess your motivation. Even if you figured out your motivation prior to the conversation, you will still find times where you need to take this pause and reassess. When we start to engage with another person, new ideas or issues may arise that can alter our motivation, and we may not even realize it, especially when our motivation bumps up against the other person. If I've added value to you today, please be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and most of all, share this with a friend. After all, everyone wins when we get better at communication.